Alright, we are going to be talking about reflecting shapes today. And before we actually get to shapes though, we're going to be reflecting points, because if, as you notice, a shape on a coordinate system is nothing more than a set of points. Here we have 3 points. So if you can reflect a point, you can reflect the entire shape just by reflecting each point and then connecting the dots. So it's important to know the steps on what to do when you're reflecting a point or a shape, just so you can remember exactly what to do when facing reflection. So the first thing we're going to do is sketch the line of reflection. So you're always going to have a line that you're reflecting the point or the shape around or about. So that's important. Go ahead and write that step down. When you're reflecting a point or a shape, you need to sketch the line of reflection. It's also important to point out that for this particular first example, when we're flipping or reflecting around a horizontal line, the y values change. Okay, so that's a good word too. Flip is actually what we're doing. It's kind of the same thing as reflection. But when we're flipping over a horizontal line, the y values will change, the x values will stay the same. So, keep that in mind as we go through these examples. So let's read this example together. Reflect the point 1, 2 around the line y equals -1. So our first step, like I said before, is we want to sketch the line of reflection. In this case, it's y equals -1. Now, a lot of times the point will already be sketched for you. Okay, so if if not, we can sketch the point 1, 2 anyways. Most of the time, it is going to be sketched, but we do need to sketch this line y equals -1. So it's the first thing we're going to do. Okay, so here is our line y equals -1. All right, and why is it horizontal? Because here is a y value of -1 right below 0, and you're just going to draw a line straight to it, meaning every point on this line is every y value is equal to -1. So that's why y equals is a horizontal line. So that's your first step. Pretty simple, right? The next step you're going to do is label the points. In this case, it's just a single point. When we do a shape, it'll be points. So then you're going to go to the point 1, 2 and just label it 1, 2. Now that's important. You'll see why in just a second. Next thing you're going to do is reflect that point, and this is what the part I need to explain. How do you reflect a point around a line? Now just think about staring into a mirror. Okay, when you stare into a mirror, you see the same thing, right? You see yourself, right? You see your face. It's flipped though, right? It's a flipped version of your face. So we're going to flip this point around this line, just like a mirror would flip your image. So what you need to do is count how far away this point is from this line. So it's 1, 2, 3 ticks or grid marks away from this blue line that we're flicking around. So instead of it being above, when we reflect it, it's going to be 3 ticks below that line. 1, 2, 3. It's going to end up being this purple point down here. So our starting point, didn't mean to move that. Let's see if we can move it back. Our starting point is this black point, and when we reflect it, we end up at that purple point. It's 3 units below the blue line. So, go ahead and label that point too, just to be safe. So since it's 3 below y equals -1, the x value is going to stay the same like we said. The y value is what's going to change. It's going to end up being 1, -4. 3 below y equals -1. Alright, the last step you need to write down for shapes, and that's when you have multiple points. You're just going to connect the dots to make the same shape you started with, except it's going to be reflected. So there you have it. There is the first example, and this one involves reflecting a point around a horizontal line. Okay? So if you have any questions about that example, let me know. Next example, we're going to look at reflecting a point around a vertical line.